So let's get right into it. We're going to unpack a really fascinating story today. It's about what happens when a brand new idea, one that's born completely outside the traditional walls of a university or a research lab, runs smack into the very system that's supposed to judge it. This is all about innovation, the promise of peer review, and, well, what happens when it all seems to fall apart.
Right at the heart of this manuscript is this powerful idea. It's a pretty bold claim, right? That truly ethical and safe AI doesn't just have to come from the big tech giants or fancy university labs. It can actually grow from the ground up, from independent innovators.
And that really is the million-dollar question here. We have this whole system, peer review, that we're told is the gold standard for checking new research. But is it always a welcoming gateway for fresh ideas, or can it sometimes feel more like a gatekeeper? Okay, so first things first, let's really get what this research is all about. Because this isn't just some abstract, theoretical paper. Nope, this is a practical framework built by a practitioner, someone in the trenches, actually building tools to try and solve some of the biggest problems we have with AI ethics. Now, here's where the tech gets really interesting. The core solution being proposed is something called a client-side zero-storage architecture. In plain English, what that means is that all your data, all your information stays with you, right there in your browser. Nothing, and I mean nothing, ever gets sent to some company's server. In the world of AI today, that's a pretty revolutionary idea for privacy.
What this creates is what the author calls a trust by design model. It puts the user completely in charge of their own data. It's built to automatically comply with tough privacy laws, and it goes right after that murky black box problem that makes so many AI systems feel untrustworthy. It's a perfect example of the kind of fresh thinking that can come from someone on the outside. All right, so you've got this game-changing idea. What's the next step? Well, you want to get it validated by other experts in the field. And that's exactly what peer review is for. It's the mechanism that's supposed to guarantee that scientific work is solid, rigorous, and high quality. In a perfect world, the process is pretty straightforward. You submit your paper, an editor gives it a look, a few experts in your field review it, they give you some helpful feedback, and then an editor makes a final call. That's the textbook version, the very foundation of how science is supposed to move forward.
So, yeah, that's the ideal. But in this case study, the process didn't just stumble, it pretty much broke down completely. Let's trace the journey of this manuscript when it was submitted to a major academic publisher, Springer Nature.
So, the timeline here shows things get complicated, fast. After an earlier paper was rejected, this new manuscript gets submitted in February 2026. It seems to be moving through the system, it's under review, but then, out of the blue, the status gets changed and the author is just left hanging. Now this is a really important detail. Four separate expert reviewers accepted the invitation to review this paper. That's a great sign. It shows that people in the academic community were genuinely interested in the topic. And here's where it all goes off the rails. Out of those 4 experts who said they would provide feedback, the author only ever got 1 review back. Just 1. That means 3 expert opinions that should have been part of the process just vanished before a decision was made. Imagine you're the researcher. You log in to check the status, and this is what you see. Submission withdrawn. For anyone in research, that's a gut punch. It means it's over. Rejected. End of the line. But wait a second. On the very same page, there's another update for the exact same paper. This one says transfer completed to a totally different journal. So what is it? Is it withdrawn or is it transferred? Is it dead in the water or is it still being considered? The official record makes no sense at all. So facing this totally bizarre situation, the author did what any of us would do. He reached out and tried to get some simple answers. Let's take a look at the email chain to see how that worked out. And his questions are incredibly reasonable. You can see it right here in his email. He's asking, why was the paper rejected all of a sudden? Where are the other 3 reviews I was supposed to get? And what on earth does this transfer actually mean for my paper? And this is where the story just gets weirder. On the left, you've got his clear, logical questions. And on the right, the publisher's reply. It doesn't actually answer any of his questions about the process, but it does give him a brand new, unearned title. Dear Professor Hoogland. That title is even more bizarre when you see the author's response. He has to spell it out for them. Look, I'm not a scientist, I don't have a university affiliation. He's an independent practitioner, the very thing his paper is about. The irony is just off the charts. So after all is said and done, the big questions are still just hanging there. The process was a black box, the paper's status is a mystery, and the communication just made everything more confusing. This is what a system breakdown looks like. So let's zoom out. Why does this one specific case matter? What does it tell us about the bigger picture for any innovator out there who's trying to get a new idea heard without the backing of a big institution?
I think this chart lays it out perfectly. The ideal version of peer review is a gateway. It's there to ensure quality, provide helpful feedback, and help new ideas flourish. But what we saw in this case study starts to look a whole lot more like a gatekeeper, a system marked by zero transparency and a total communication breakdown that could end up crushing the very innovation it's supposed to support.
And that really leaves us with a huge, critical question. And it's not just for this one researcher. It's for the entire scientific community. In a world where the next great idea can truly come from anywhere, how do we make absolutely sure that our systems for vetting new knowledge are open, fair, and actually ready to listen, no matter who is speaking?